Hello again. So, in one of the last tutorials, when we were talking about the color wheel, I actually said that I would save this color combination and then apply it to one of these dummy websites that I'm making for the class. So today I'm going to show you what I did with that. So what I did is I copied these, hex codes onto a notepad, and then when I got to Wix I went to this thing called the theme manager, and then I pasted them right in here. So what you do is you just open this and then you just click on this. This is the hex color, and then you just add it, and it creates you a whole range of tints, which is very nice. But you can also adjust these shades if you want to. So for example, you can increase the brightness, you can increase the saturation, and so on. So each shade can, like, let's say for example I decide that I want this to look like that or whatever. I mean, I don't, but let's just say that I do. Now the first two I left neutral. I didn't put these strong colors in here, and the reason for that is that if you put these up here, then all the text that you create, that you drag onto your interface, so for example if you just drag this here, that would then become this color if this is at the top, and that's obviously something that you don't want. You don't want your typography to be in all these colors. There's going to be a separate typography tutorial very shortly next week, where I will talk much more about typography and how to use colors with typography and so on and so forth. So those I left neutral. Now also in last week's tutorial, or in the color tutorials, I talked quite a bit about something called the 60-30-10 rule, and this tutorial now is going to be basically about how I applied that 60-30-10 rule to this particular design. Not exactly, but close. So, but I'm going to show you this here. Now, this is something that I just discovered, but it's a really neat thing to know about. Now, when you are previewing something from the editor, then what happens is that you get all of this junk at the top here, right? Now, if you go to the My Sites page, and if you go here and click on Preview Site, it will actually open the website like this, like as if it was a real published site. Okay? So, in fact, I'm going to do an F11 so that we see even more, so that I can explain to you how the 60-30-10 rule applies to this. Well, almost applies to it, not exactly. Now, the 60-30-10 rules, if we remember, says that if you have three colors, then one should be the dominant color and should take up about 60% of the design. The second one should be the secondary color, that should take up about 30% of the design, and then there should be an accent which takes up about 10% of the design. Now on this page, what I did is the yellow is the 60, because that's a flat, strong color, and it takes up about half of this page, well, half of this color area, I mean. Then we have the turquoise, which we have here as a flat color, but then this image up here, the cat portrait, that is also turquoise. It's a very low saturated turquoise, but it is a turquoise. I colorized it, and I'm going to show you how to colorize things in a future tutorial about images. In fact, that's going to be the next tutorial in this series. So what we have is not exactly, it's a little bit, maybe this is more like 50, and then this is, this turquoise is probably more like, let's say, maybe 35, and then the pink is maybe more like 15. So it's not exactly the 60-30-10 ratio, but it's close enough. Now, it's difficult in web design, because web design is such a structured and restricted design medium, to apply these design principles perfectly and exactly. but I tried my best, as you can see. Now, what I also did is I made the header two different tones. So the center is, and also the footer, same thing here. So the center part is black, but then the sides here are a very dark gray. And the reason I did that is because I wanted to use this alignment as part of the design, so that I have like this continuation here. Now if I had made this completely black, then it would be something else, and I've done this on another example that I'm going to show you as well with muted colors. But in this one I actually wanted to use that distinction to create this alignment. So let's go back to the editor and let me show you how I actually separate it. So I'm just going to move this over for now. So if I go to change page background color, just pick this one, and that's basically it. Then if I go to design, it would normally be in no color. What you would need to do is go to white, then you go to customize design, background, and I just pick this. And that's how I ended up with the two colors. And then I just took a container box from here. I mean, I have a lot of them now. When I started I didn't, I just had the usual ones, so I just dragged one of them and just colored it to pink, and then I placed these pieces of text inside it, and then of course we have the strip at the top. Now each page on this website, let me go back to here, has a separate strip, and each one has a separate picture. Now the nice thing you can about working with a very narrow header, now the header here is very narrow, that's all it is. This is not in the header, this is actually on the page. And the nice thing about a narrow header is that it gives you the ability to change these images and the strip contents from page to page. So you don't have the same exact thing on every page, you can alternate from one to the other, and that's the really nice thing that you can do. I am still not completely happy with this image here, I will probably change that, but I am quite happy with this one, and I'm quite happy with this one, and this one, and this one. This top part here still needs some work, and that's how design work goes. You always go back and find little mistakes or things that you're not happy with and that you correct. Now another thing that I did is I made this long and narrow black box, which I've used in all the pages. So I have it here as well, and then I also have it here as separators, and we'll get to these animated boxes in just a second. And I have it here as well, and then I have it here as well. Now I did that because I wanted to have another design element that would connect the pages to each other, that would create a consistency in the style, because a consistent style, something that happens from page to page to page, is quite important. But also I wanted to create an additional black element because these three colors are very strong colors. And remember something that I said to you in the earlier tutorial, that black, white and gray are your best friends, and you don't have a lot of good friends here. I don't have a lot of good friends here. I have a lot of color, and so I wanted to give myself one good friend who would hold everything together and who was this black box. Now another thing, I put guides here. One of them is right at the edge of the menu, and the other one is right at the edge of the K, and then we have one right at the edge of the thingy, of the icon. So, and these are very important because I'm going to, while I made the website, I aligned a lot of things to these guides, and that is also giving me a consistency from page to page. So let's actually go here, and again, like I said, this image is probably going to change. Um, so there's a lot to talk about, of course, when it comes to typography, but right now we are still at the construction stage of the website. So I'm not going to get into those kinds of details like typography now, but I'm going to be doing it very, very soon. Probably next week or so I'm going to make a separate big typography tutorial. Now the way that we put together graphic design work is we first construct something and then we start working on the details, and the typography is the most important detail that we have to pay attention to when we are putting together a graphic design project. Now they have this thing here which I noticed the other day. They have these hover boxes which I had never tried before, and I thought, well, why not? Let me see what they're all about. So I took this one, and this is the one that I used, and they are actually very, very nice. So the way they work is that it's a container box basically. That's all it is. It has a hover mode, and when you go into the hover mode, it does certain things. So you choose the effect. In my case, it's just a grow, but there are other things as well that you can look at if you want to, and then you customize it. So mine just starts growing from the center and it's 110%, but you could try other things as well, I guess. And then when you hover, it just does this little animation. So basically, if we go back here, this is how it works. It's a very subtle, very delicate, elegant kind of thing, which I like. So here it is. Now what I did is I added a headline. Well, let me just go back here. We have an image here that I just put inside the container box, which I cropped so that it's exactly right. Then I put a headline on each image, which I gave a highlight so that if I go across the image it's still readable. And one of them has a little subhead, but most of them are just single lines. So something that I have said in class is, never use an element that isn't necessary. Always ask yourself, do I really need this? Does this design really need this? Would anything change if I didn't have this? And you should always bear that in mind. Now the highlight here, for example, that has a purpose. It's not just like a nice little thing or something. The purpose is that this text would be very difficult to read. If I didn't have the highlight, I would have to make it white, but then on this one here, for example, if it was white, there was no way that you would be able to read it. If it was white, there was no way that you'd be able to read it here, and so on and so forth. And since these are all a series, they all belong together, there has to be a consistency between these headlines. So you can't do one thing in one place and another thing in another place. You would need to have some consistency in your design. That's an important thing. So you have to think of all the different scenarios where this is going to be seen. It's going to be seen on a white background, on a dark background, on a pink, on a gray, on a blah 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 blah. So you try to formulate a solution that's actually working in every single case. And that's what I did with that white highlight here. So again, we have the animation. Which is the animation completely necessary? Well, no. But then it gives us a more close-up look of the thingy here. So in that sense, but I'm not going to try to justify that this hover animation is completely crucial for the welfare of this design. Obviously, that's not the case. So is there anything that I need to show you on this page? No, I just, again, added some boxes, container boxes. Again, we'll talk more about typography later. And basically, I just put in 3 YouTube videos. They have a YouTube player here, which you've probably already seen. It's this one here. And then I just pasted the URLs in here. So this is about stretching, about, cats stretch when they are nervous. So how does this look? Now, because these colors are very powerful, what I tried to do is I tried to keep the design very, very simple. And one of the reasons why I don't like this picture here is there's too much going on here. I need a simpler picture like this one here. This is a very clean, clear-cut thing. It gives just one message, or this one is like that too, and this one is definitely like that. This one gives a sort of a mixed message. There's, the cat is eating something obviously, but we don't know exactly what it's eating. And then we have this flower here. The face of the cat is very nice, and if I could make this bigger, unfortunately this image is not wide enough for me to be able to take a closer crop, so I need to have all of this stuff here. This becomes confusing, which with another kind of design that might not be such a big problem, but with this one here I think it is a problem. I think I need something that needs to be much more clean and crisp and clear, so I'm going to keep on looking for other images. Now we come to the last page, which is where I'm kind of like talking about what this website is really all about, which is something that I feel very strongly about anyway, which is that you need to get social media and television right out of your lives if you want to live a stress-free and happier life. Now here I want to talk about these images. Both of these images are colorized, so what they actually look like is quite different to I can show you right here what this image looked like. If I could, okay, I can find this one. So this is what the image looked like, and this is what it ended up becoming. And I did that through a process called colorization, which you can also do on Photokey, and which I'm going to show you in the next tutorial. And I did the same thing with this one. This was also a photograph that had let me just see if I can, yeah, okay, here it is. So it's this one here. It's a regular colored photograph. I mean, she's wearing a beige t-shirt, but as you can see, this skin color, her hair is brown and so on and so forth. And I just colorized that into like a turquoise, and this one into like a dark tone of this pink. And again, I did that in order to achieve consistency with the design, with this primary color scheme. Now, let's go back to here and look at these images here, because this is something important. Now, when you have such a strong color scheme, pink, yellow, and turquoise, and in big amounts, putting colored photographs inside such a powerful color scheme can become a problem. And what I did with all of these photographs is I desaturated them very slightly in Photoshop, or you can do it in Photokey as well, and I'm going to show you how to do that as well. But that alone would not have worked. I can't desaturate them a lot because they are food, and if you desaturate food photographs a lot, then it becomes very unappetizing looking, so they need to have some color. But these black lines that I was talking about in the beginning, when I said I put this black line here because I needed a good friend, you know, black, white, and gray are the good friends, remember? But here now the good friend is really helping me, because when I put these black lines between these colored photographs, even though I have a lot of other color around them, they are holding things together. The black lines are holding things together. If I did not have the black lines, this design would not look the way it does, and I can prove that to you right now. I can just delete this. Hang on. And move this up. And delete this. Move this up, and let's now preview this. And as you can see, it looks horrible when you get all of these colors. Now, there are other places on this website where we have the colors next to each other and they don't look horrible. But when you have the colored photographs without something that holds everything together, and then you get into serious trouble, which is why I needed the black boxes. So they really are good friends. Okay, so let's just go back here. So we have the entry page where we just have the big thing at the top and then just the text. Here things start getting more interesting. I'm not giving any recipes or anything, obviously, just telling them that these foods are good for stress, which apparently they are. I actually researched this. I didn't know anything about it. We have the exercises, and again, on all the pages we have the color combination, and on some pages the yellow is the primary color, and then on the other page the blue is the primary color, and then the yellow and pink there's much less of, and this one here, again, the blue is the primary color, and then we have more pink and just a tiny bit of yellow. So in terms of the 60-30-10 rule, this page is actually the one that works the best, because here we do in fact have a lot of turquoise, which corresponds to the 60. Then we have quite a bit of pink, which corresponds to the 30, and then we have a tiny little piece of yellow, which is this here, which would correspond to the 10, and then obviously, of course, we have the yellow in the header as well. So that's it for this one, and next I'm going to show you exactly the same site, but this time I made it with the muted colors. So I'll see you then.